Welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here. So glad to have you with us. Joining us now on the show, Dave Zirin is the host of Edge of Sports on XM Sirius Satellite Radio. You can follow him on Twitter, Edge of Sports. Dave Zirin, welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be here, David.
You know, Dave, there are rumors out there, rumors on the interwebs, that you've got a book coming along.
Yeah, I've got a book coming out in 2 weeks. It's called Game Over, How Politics Have Turned the Sports World Upside Down. It's about the last several years in the world of sports and the way that the sports page is just incapable of covering all the incredible stories that are coming out, and how looking at sports is actually an incredible way to understand our world.
And is it because of, I don't know, corporate media or whatnot, that, for example, ESPN or even to a certain extent some of the major newspapers, they don't want to sort of cover the ugly side of the business side of sports because they lose their access?
I think there's a lot of that. It's very limited coverage. I think one of the problems is that a lot of the main journalistic entities in the sports world are also broadcast partners, and that creates a flagrant conflict of interest. But even when they do cover what's going on, whether you're talking about the lockouts that have taken place in sports, whether you're talking about the NBA players who stood up for Trayvon Martin after he was murdered by George Zimmerman, whether they talk about what just took place in the NFL with Mike Shanahan sending the Washington football quarterback RG3 on the field to have his knee absolutely destroyed, whether they do talk about that stuff, and they do, there's very little effort at synthesis and trying to understand how we can understand the fact that there seem to be all these dynamic stories popcorning all over the place.
One of the stories that developed recently was the end of the labor dispute regarding the National Hockey League. Here's the commissioner, Gary Bettman, alongside Don Fair, who's the players' rep, making the announcement official.
Good morning, everyone. Don Fair and I are here to tell you that we have reached an agreement on the framework of a new collective bargaining agreement, the details of which need to be put to paper. We've got to dot a lot of I's, cross a lot of T's. There's still a lot of work to be done, but the basic framework of the deal has been agreed upon.
Dave Zirin, what is that basic framework, and how did the players do?
Well, the players didn't do great in terms of the financials of it. They lost money through revenue sharing. Wealth was extracted from the players' pockets and put in the pockets of ownership. The salary floor of the NHL has lowered. That means that NHL teams are required to spend less money than they were before, which will create much more of a two-tiered system in the National Hockey League where, you know, it's down the road of looking like Major League Baseball where you can have the Yankees and then the Pittsburgh Pirates and ridiculous salary differentials between the different clubs. It also, what it does is it makes it very difficult for players to leave their clubs and go to other teams via free agency. It makes that process more difficult. If there's any plus for the players in all of this, any plus at all, it's that Donald Fehr really did mold them as a players association through this process. You could argue that before this latest lockout, the Players Association was very weak, and now they're emerging from Sidney Crosby on down as a unit that's very unified and very serious about fighting for the letter of this contract over the course of its agreement, which is a 10-year agreement with an opt-out after 8 years.
Any lessons for labor unions, say even outside the world of sports, based on how this particular dispute was resolved?
Well, the only real lesson is beware the lockout. The lockout has become, in the broader world of labor management relations, something that's much more used in U.S. society. The number of lockouts in the United States has doubled since 2010. This used to be the third rail of labor negotiations and labor relations and collective bargaining in the United States. Now it's become a starting point of strategy by corporate America, and the NHL certainly does show that, because look what the National Hockey League did. I mean, the leadership of it, I should say, the owners, the commissioner, Gary Bettman, they were ready to see their second season in 7 years just canceled. They're giving us a 48-game season where you are going to see injuries pile up. You're going to see, I mean, it's going to be, I think, just a cataclysmic 48-game sprint to a runted Stanley Cup Finals this year. And it's also going to very much hurt teams that you and I are interested in following, like the Washington Capitals, who are trying to break in a new coach in Adam Oates. It's going to destroy teams that are trying to institute new systems and new coaching methods. And so this is not going to be a fun year for National Hockey League fans. And what it comes down to, though, is that the NHL owners were willing to destroy the long-term interest of their product for the benefit of short-term profitability, which frankly makes them not that different from the Washington Redskins and what they did to RG3, and doesn't make them that much different from what we've seen on Wall Street over the last decade either, for that matter.